Hello, friends. It's the Monday version of In the Car with Star. I don't know if they've hit rock bottom or not. It feels like rock bottom to me. You outshoot a team 20-1. You have a 2-0 lead. You're playing in front of your fans. You're feeling good. Last week, I was talking to you about how teams in the regular season like to break up their marathon regular seasons in manageable chunks for short-term goals. Feel good about yourself, right? Like Montreal Canadiens break up their season in 8-10 game chunks. First 10 games, 2-8. No good. One of the worst teams in the National Hockey League. Fast forward 3 more games, 1 win, and now the team is 3-10. One of the worst teams in the National Hockey League. The Ottawa Senators have 7 points. The Canadiens have 6 points. The Arizona Coyotes have 3 points. And the Montreal Canadiens blew it 5-2 to Vegas on Saturday. Look, the Canadiens are depleted. Vegas came here depleted. You know, I don't know what happened on Saturday night, why the Canadiens managed to come out like gangbusters and just completely skate all over Vegas en route to a 2-0 lead and a lopsided margin on the shot clock. And then, of course, Vegas gets a goal. And you knew, right? You're watching this game. We're all thinking the same thing. Vegas scored, makes it 1-2 Canadiens. Vegas scores again. They make it 2-2. You knew at that point, right then and there, the Canadiens were going to lose that game. At least I did, right? Like, they were going to make it 3-2, and then they get a couple of empty netters, and it's a 5-2 scoreline, and the Canadiens leave the Bell Center Saturday night. By the way, that there was no ambiance Saturday night, by the way. If you listen to TSN 690 today, listen for when they play the final call. Crickets. It sounded like a junior hockey rink when the Canadiens lost on Saturday night. So the question is now what? Like, where do the Canadiens go from here? It's November the 8th today. The municipal election is over. Valerie Plante's in for a second term. Like, life couldn't get any worse, right? Now what? There's been so much conversation about what the Canadiens need to do. The Canadiens need to rebuild. Montreal Canadiens need to unload and rebuild and start from scratch, basically tear it down to the studs. Remember a few years ago, the New York Rangers published a letter to their season ticket holders and their fan base saying, listen, we've had a change in organizational philosophy. And as a result, we are now looking towards the future and a complete teardown and a rebuild, right? I can't get there. And it sounds super easy. Like, I think it's a very easy angle or a take to have. Oh, tear it down. Well, it's not that easy. What are you going to do with Carey Price's contract? What are you going to do with Shea Weber's contract? What are you going to do with Brendan Gallagher's contract? What are you going to do with Jeff Petry's contract? Are all of these contracts tradable? Are all of these contracts desirable to every other team in the National Hockey League? Does anybody want Carey Price's contract? What about Brendan Gallagher's contract? That was a loyalty contract. David Savard's got, 3 more years left? Who's going to take on these contracts? How are you going to unload them? You're going to eat salary until you're full and you can't eat anymore? I mean, it doesn't work that way. And the other angle to the rebuild, tear it down to the studs is, as much as I'm a fan of the Montreal Canadiens, I can't cheer for losing. I can't. My brain doesn't work that way. I am not wired to openly cheer for losing with the chance that this team is going to rebuild and do it the right way. And the other angle to this is, tell me, what have you seen in the last 20 years that leads you to believe that this organization is now, just like that, because you're going to tear it down to the studs, is going to develop and graduate and choose the right players at the draft? What have you seen? What have you seen? Like, Marc Bergevin has been the general manager for 10 years. What tweets have I seen out there from the likes of Andrew Berkshire and others that are paying attention to this Canadiens team? Like, 1 drafted player in 10 years of work? What kind of organization works that way? And you want to rebuild and tear it down to the studs? Okay, friend. It's a convenient angle. It's a convenient perspective to have when the team is 3-10 and they have 6 points to their resume, and the season, my friends, like it or lump it, is over. So you tell me what they do now, because I don't know. There's 69 games to go. There's 138 points up for grabs. What is this team going to do? They're going to win 45 of the next 69 games? Come on now. Let's be realistic. You know, they have a general manager on a lame duck year. Who knows what Marc Bergevin's future is? What's Jeff Molson going to say? I see people want Jeff Molson to come out. So what's Jeff Molson going to say? I think the next time we hear Jeff Molson, it's going to be to announce who the general manager is. Whether it's Marc Bergevin getting a contract extension or whether they hire somebody else. And that's where we are, right? Like, I honestly think if you're coming at me with the rebuild, tear it down to the studs, I think it's the biggest fanboy opinion you can have about the current state of affairs for the Montreal Canadiens. You know, and I don't dispute the fact that there needs to be a house cleaning. And maybe it needs to begin with Eric Crawford. Who's Eric Crawford, Sean? I'll tell you who he is. He is the Habs director of pro scouting. Who in the hell gave Cedric Paquette the green light to sign a contract? Cedric Paquette is as much as an NHL player today as I am. Okay? He costs this team more than he helps this team. And look, there's part of me that wants to give the organization the benefit of the doubt. Like, why in the hell is Cedric Paquette an NHL player? Because he's not an NHL player. But he is on this Montreal Canadiens team. Like, I'm not going to lie to you, forever and a day, okay, I never believed that the Montreal Canadiens went out and signed Francophone players just for the fact that they were Francophone players. I was like, come on, what? This is not tiddlywinks here. This is the NHL. We're talking about $1 billion organization in a multi-billion-dollar league. And you're telling me one of those teams plays politics? And they're going out and only signing a French player because he's from here? I see Cedric Paquette play, and I'm like, I guess it's true then. He has no business being a Montreal Canadian player. And if he's not a healthy scratch, starting tomorrow when the Montreal Canadiens play the LA Kings, then that's the new rock bottom. Because I think when you lose a game like you lost on Saturday night, that's rock bottom. If Cedric Paquette plays on Tuesday, that's my new rock bottom. Because he is not an NHL player. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to see him out there. And now what? Laurent Dauphin is an option. Ryan Poehling is ready to go from what I've heard. So those are options at the ready coming from Laval, who, by the way, got swept on the weekend. Cole Caulfield picked up an assist. And the Montreal Canadiens are scoring 2 goals a game, you guys. 13 games in, they have 26 goals while allowing almost 3.5 goals against. And to make it even uglier, 33% of the Canadiens' goals have came against one team, and that's Detroit. They've outscored them 9-1 in 2 games. And that's where we are with this team. So, you know, spare me the rebuild, tear it down to the studs. The NHL trade deadline this year is March 21st. And for me, if we're talking about cleaning house, it begins up top. It begins in the Canadiens front office. Then we'll tackle who's on the ice.